Peace. And sometimes you hear people make statements like, yo, I'm not voting, I'm not into politics, it's that and the third. And people oftentimes don't understand how being involved in a political process allows you to not only have a voice, but a hand in shaping the landscape or the legal geography where you live. So for example, check this out. This is our legal geography exhibit here at the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center. And in 1776, right, when this country was founded, there was already over 5 generations of slavery on this land. When this country started, slavery didn't end, it actually became the law. So through an act of legislation, slavery became the law for another 3 generations here in this country. So if we were seeking asylum or striving to find a place where we could legally exist here in this country, there was no place we could have literally gone by law, including Upper and Lower Canada, because it was still a part of the British Empire. Now that landscape began to also shift between 1799 and 1827 through another act of legislation on regional or state levels. So check this out. You begin to see certain states join into the Union, but they also begin to abolish slavery. A fun fact is slavery was abolished here in New York State in 1827. So a lot of people don't realize that, yes, there was slavery up north as well, right? So when slavery began to get abolished in some of these northern states, they became sanctuary states for people seeking freedom. And that is when you begin to effectively start to see the development of this secret network of people, places, and destinations known as the Underground Railroad. So the landscape began to change between this time of 1799 and 1827 through an act of legislation. That landscape again changed in 1850 with the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act, which was a federal law which applied in all of the states here in this country. And what it effectively did is it gave enslavers the right to come to any of these sanctuary states and reclaim a person that once escaped. So let me put that into perspective for you. Say we lived on a plantation here in Virginia in 1825, and we left and made it into this sanctuary state called Pennsylvania in 1825. We've been living here for 25 years. We have a family, we own a home, we own a business, we live in a community. But 25 years later, with the passage of this Fugitive Slave Act, it effectively put everything that we've established at risk, because 25 years later, an enslaver had the right to come to any of these places, especially where we now reside, and reclaim us and our children, because they belong to them too, and bring us right back into slavery. That was created with a pen stroke. The landscape where we live essentially shifted 25 years later and put everything that we established at risk. So during that time of 1850, that is when we started to see a lot of freedom seekers, or people who had that sense of sanctuary in some of these states, begin to get out of this country and to go over into Canada. And that's where we oftentimes saw most of our Underground Railroad activity here in the city of Niagara Falls and any of these border states to Canada. But that landscape didn't end there. It shifted again with the Emancipation Proclamation, and then also with the enactment of this, the 13th Amendment, which effectively reads, no more slavery or involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime. So think about that. That essentially shifted the landscape again, where now to this day, you see people who are incarcerated as punishment for a crime and are subjected to the same type of slave-like conditions that you oftentimes seen some of our ancestors go through living in this country generations previous to this. So the next time you hear somebody make a statement about not being involved in the political process and I don't care about this, that, and the third, no. It's not just about you having a voice, but it's about you having a hand in shaping and determining the legislation that shifts the landscape and the geographic location where you live. It is important for you to be in a position, because that type of position is the position of power. So I will this was inspiring, it was empowering, and gave those of you a little bit of insight on why this is important for us to be involved in the political process, not just on a national or regional level, but definitely on a local level. Peace.